Lizards sometimes retain primordial qualities. To look at them, you may see the scaly faces of ages long gone. The Sailfin dragon lizard has a look that matches its fantastical name. But the dinosaur-esque nature of this reptile doesn't mean it doesn't have a few new tricks in its arsenal. The dragon makes its home near the water, and he brings some interesting adaptations to the taxonomic table. Improving on the tried and true reptile design might be the best option for this aquatic dragon. In life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal info. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
That was very musical. Thank you. Speaking of music, thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, search Cassie Michelle on YouTube. And today, we're talking about a modern-day dinosaur with a name to match. But more on that later.
The name matches the dinosaurness of it.
It does.
But we won't hold you in suspense any longer, because that name is the Sailfin dragon lizard, which is the final boss in Mortal Kombat. Don't play Mortal Kombat, kids. It's bad for your eyes. But we're going to call it here. Actually, there's a lot of nicknames for this particular one that other people have given it. I have a few, but people also call it the crested lizard, the Sailfin water lizard, the Soa lizard, and the natives of the region where it lives I call it the ibid.
Interesting.
Which I'm sure that's not how they pronounce it. It's probably ibid or something like that. But we're going to call it here the intriguing Icarus iguana and the holy hydrosaur. But let's taxonomize this. Let's jump right into it. The kingdom is the one you know. It's also the one you love. Yes, love and are in. The kingdom is Animalia. The phylum is Chordata. The class is Reptilia, because dragons are reptiles. Everybody knows that. The order is Squamata. So we're getting into lizard zone. The suborder is Iguania. So it's an iguana. That's why I called it the Icarus iguana. The family is Agamidae. Yeah, we'll go with that. Agamidae. The genus is Hydrosaurus. And that's about where the cool factor ends, because the species name is Pustulatus. So it's Hydrosaurus pustulatus. So it's a pimply water dinosaur. But since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for cue the music. My favorite part of the show, critter groups. The part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and that question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal? Or what is the collective noun? Or what is the term of venery, if we want to get fancy with it? And since we're doing an iguana, or a kind of iguana, that's what we're going to go with, because there isn't a collective noun for the Sailfin dragon lizard, but there is for iguanas. So, since you are probably... You live in South Florida, and you are probably always surrounded by iguanas whenever you go to any sort of business park or office building. You can whip this one out at the next office party you go to. If you were walking by one of South Florida's many canals, and you saw the characteristic swath of iguanas resting on the canal bank, would you say that's
swath
a plot of iguanas, B, a mess of iguanas, C, a ring of iguanas, or D, a patch of iguanas, or E, a swath of iguanas?
Mess is accurate, because they're a mess in South Florida,
and they poop a lot,
and they dig under stuff. A patch Mess. What were the other two?
It's plot, mess, ring, and patch.
I'm gonna go with plot. You said?
Yeah.
I guess I'm going with plot.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
And you should have gone with your gut. I know you wanted to say mess because mess was the answer.
Yeah. See, none of them really like had a clear association with the animal, other than like mess. But that's only because it's invasive where I live.
They're just all over the place. They're not organized, which is good. It's good that animals aren't that organized. Big animals like that.
They're not picketing and demonstrating.
No, they also don't have a
organized.
hierarchy of. They don't have a chain of command. But so yes, it's a mess of iguanas. So if you're wondering what this looks like, and you've heard me mention iguana several times, keep that image in your head, and then just add a dinosaur to it. What kind of dinosaur, you ask? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. It has a long body, dry, scaly, armor-like wrinkle skin, and 4 short, squat legs with feet tipped with sharp claws and long, gangly toes and fingers and stuff. I don't know, if you've seen an iguana, you know what I'm talking about. It has a row of small spikes lining its spine from the base of its neck all the way to the beginning of its tail. And from far away, it kind of looks like almost like a tuft of fur, like its hackles are up. But they're spikes, so don't grab them. Its head and face are kind of gecko-like. I was looking at a picture of like a close-up of its face, and it doesn't really have that iguana, that traditional invasive South Florida or even Galapagos marine iguana look. It's got more of the definition of a gecko, slightly more. It's got the short snout, the defined jaw, angry eyes instead of the soulless eyes of a regular iguana. And like many lizards, it has a throatal flap called a dewlap, and that hangs down from its neck and is used to woo potential mates during mating season. So basically, what I've described so far is your typical iguana. But the thing that sets this guy apart is his tail. So while most iguanas have a thin, like whip tail, which I have been whipped by and it hurts, the male sailfin dragon lizard has a thicker tail, and then it has this large crest that spans kind of the first fourth, just doing a general eye measurement, first fourth of the length of its tail. So from the where the tail connects to the rump, about a quarter of the way down, and it's this big. It's a crest, so it's a big like kind of dome. It's thin. It has ridges that segment it along the length of it. It looks. I mean, I couldn't find an exact measurement for it, but it looks to be. I don't know. I want to say like 3 or 4 inches tall. Like it's pretty significant.
Oh, we'll learn exactly how tall it is.
Oh, will we? I didn't know you found that measurement. I couldn't find it. When there's a couple pictures I saw that make it look kind of like just a big fin or a large curved feather. It's clearly has a specific function that you'll talk about later. But it makes it look really similar to the Dimetrodon, which is the dinosaur that you're thinking of when you look at this. Which apparently is not actually a dinosaur, but what do we know?
What even is a dinosaur?
It's a thing. Like sometimes they're reptiles, sometimes they're birds.
And sometimes they're thought to be birds and not. Apparently, the T-Rex probably never had feathers. Like for a while, it was popular to think like
it had feathers.
The T-Rex was a feathered friend, but in reality, Probably not, because big animals don't need insulation that feathers provide. In fact, they probably need to cool off better.
Plus, they definitely don't fly.
Which I think we talked about that when we
But I guess the ostrich and emu don't fly.
when we talked about that shrew, that really tiny, the pygmy shrew.
Did we? Oh, because its heart beats at.
Yeah, mitosis and stuff
It's
like
so
that.
small
like,
that it has to continue eating because staying warm is really difficult. But if you're really, really big, you don't need that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, actually, you trap a lot of heat in the center of your body.
So you actually really want
to cool off.
What we don't know about the T-Rex is that it just liked a good mud bath. It spent its whole time in the mud.
No, what we didn't know is that it had just huge elephant ears.
But it was
that just
cartilaginous.
Yeah, it just disappears.
Oh my goodness! Can you imagine? It's just got these big. Oh, that would be perfect. I hope that's the case.
Well, maybe it had like the
frill.
What is it, Deinonychus or Dilophosaurus?
Dilophosaurus, yeah. According to Jurassic Park, which is Cretaceous Park.
Yeah. Anyway, would you like to know like its size and dimensions or relatable terms?
Not yet. So the last oddity for this particular iguana, the sailfin dragon lizard, is that his scales are all kinds of crazy colors. So usually when you see an iguana in South Florida, they can actually get to be like bright green or bright orange or some kind of like a reddish hue. The ones in the Galapagos are usually like a dull green or gray, maybe a little bit bluish. But the Hydrosaurus, the sailfin dragon lizard, can be a mottled purple with bluish, like in bright bluish green tints on its scales. And the older they get, the purpler they become. Yeah, so that if you look at pictures of this, I imagine that some of them are enhanced, like when we talked about the Malabar giant squirrel and it having purple fur. But this one seems to be legitimately purple. Maybe not quite as purple as the pictures point out. We just like purple animals. If there's a purple animal, we cover it. We do the frog, we did the squirrel, and we're doing this one. There's just not that many of them, so we'll cover them all. Okay, now you can tell us how big it is.
Okie dokie. Well, welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show which we have not updated. We have not done another election. I guess maybe this is a 2-term office or something.
Unless you're FDR, and then you get 3 terms, which would be just unorthodox.
The part not consecutive. We couldn't do it consecutively.
No.
This is more of like a hostile coup at this point.
This is a coup d'etat.
There's no peaceful transfer of power. There's no more democratic elections.
The Jedi will have to take control of the Senate in order to ensure a peaceful transaction.
Exactly. We grant you the rank of segment, but we something or other.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of segment. Listener's favorite segment.
You are a segment. We do not grant you the rank of favorite.
It's unfair.
Okay. It's the part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that is introduced by you when you send in audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering. The words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new intro this week. But that means we get to hear from an animal, and Carlos has to guess what it is.
Here we go.
Without further ado, and I'll warn you that there are people in this, so there's a lady laughing, so that's not the animal. But she doesn't say what it is, so it's safe to hear. You'll know when it's the animal. Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show.
Are you saying hi, are you, buddy? There they are, yeah. Johnny's all excited.
Okay.
I heard another, was it a child screaming or something?
Yeah, there's also a child.
Okay.
Later in the video, the mule or donkey or zebra or cayuse or whatever it is.
Did you just ruin it?
Is it A, a donkey? Is it B, a mule? Is it C, a zebra? Or is it D, a cayuse?
I don't know.
A cayuse.
I know it's not a zebra. I don't know what a cayuse is. I can't tell the difference between a donkey and a mule. Shout. So we'll go with mule since that's what you slipped up on.
I said that first. Well, that is correct. I was just reading the title of the thing. I should have just said Johnny. His name's Johnny. But yeah, this is Johnny the Mule. The link to this video will be in the show notes. This mule is really cool looking because it's got like longer fur. It's like a furry looking horse. And the comments.
There's a Bonanza episode called The Crime of Johnny Mule. Johnny the Mule is I'm seeing images of the Clint Eastwood movie because the Hurt by Johnny Cash is in it. I'm not getting anything good, so let's just move on.
One of the comments on this video is I asked my boyfriend what noise a mule makes, and he just made a random noise, so I looked it up, and I cannot believe how close he was. And then another comment is, it father a horse?
It fathered a horse?
It father a horse? Probably referencing the fact that mules are one part horse, one part donkey.
Yeah, isn't there... If the father is a horse and the mother is a donkey, then it's a mule. But if it's flipped around, it's a different one, right?
If it father a horse, then it be a hinny.
A hinny.
Not a mule. Not a mule, yeah. If it father a donkey and it mother a horse, then it's a mule.
You're hurting me. You're hurting me with your English.
Oh, also a cayuse is a breed of wild horse that can also be domesticated in North America, descended from Spain horses.
It sounds like what Navi tries to say in Zelda. Cayuse.
I tried to search what a cayuse looked like, and all I found was Caillou.
And he's very different from what you just described. Wild stallion.
Definitely not. Maybe in the second season. But let's talk length.
Season 2 Caillou is a wild stallion. Untamable, majestic beast.
He transmutes. They're between 24 and 30 inches, I think, including the tail, and that's 76 centimeters. How many sailfin lizards go into the length of Sauroposeidon proteles, which is a big dinosaur?
Sauroposeidon? Like sad water god?
Sauro. Because it's a sauropod.
Got it.
Here's a hint. Sauroposeidon proteles is thought to be the tallest dinosaur that ever lived. It was first discovered when 4 vertebrae were found and thought to be petrified tree trunks because, of course, they were too large to be animal bones. They were later discovered to be animal bones. So, of course, until we discover that this animal only had 4 vertebrae, or these 4 vertebrae were anything else, the femurs of something else, then this is the tallest ever dinosaur.
Maybe the middle part is only for vertebrae? Like it's, I don't know, bones. I'm not a
It's just
osteologist.
Another example of a full dinosaur species being based on a handful of, in number but not in size.
Yeah, I don't know how big your hands are, but if they thought it was a petrified tree trunk, I think it's a little bit more than a handful. How many inches did you say this was? What's 76?
30 inches, 76 centimeters.
30 inches. Close to 3 feet, but not quite. And this I don't know. I'm going to say 50 feet for this. Does that include when it's rearing back on its hind legs to get to the top of trees, like in the beginning of Jurassic Park?
I'm going to venture a guess and just assume that would have been impossible for, for these guys.
That would have made their hearts explode. And they would have fallen over and never been able to get up without
They
life
would have
alert.
snapped their front two legs or driven them so deep into the earth they would never get up again.
All right, so I guess we'll go from the front two legs to the top of their head.
Yeah, it's at the top of the head, not the withers.
So I'll go with 50 feet.
What if these guys were just primarily aquatic? That would explain how they can be so big.
They called them Poseidon. Sarah Poseidonus.
That's because Poseidon was, I read this, that's because Poseidon was apparently associated with earthquakes to some people. And a large land-walking dinosaur would assumingly make some earth-shaking sounds.
Oh, I thought they would see it in the water and they're like, let's just stick the word Poseidon in there because water.
It was found in Oklahoma. But that doesn't mean there wasn't water there at some point. Big deep water.
They have got lakes. I'm gonna say 20.
20 sailfin dragons. Final answer.
Yep. Go end to end. Go from the ground to the tippy top of the largest sauropod's face.
The correct answer is 23.6 sailfin dragons.
I was close.
If these vertebrae belong to an anatomically traditional sauropod, the animal could be as tall as 7 to 18 meters or 56 to 59 feet.
That is a tall boy. That's like the building we used to work in. It's like the whole thing.
It is 5-story building sized. Maybe even 6-story building sized. The sailfin. Let's talk about the fin itself. How high is it? They're 2.7 inches or 7 centimeters.
Ooh, I was right. Just by estimating, I said like 3 inches.
How many sailfin fins go into the largest sailfish ever fished?
How many sailfin fins go into the largest sailfish ever fished? This is turning into a Dr. Seuss book.
Oh, no, that's canceled.
What?
Specific Dr. Seuss books have been canceled. But we're not talking about that.
Anyway. The sailfish. Those things can be pretty big. I imagine those can be like maybe 8 or 9 feet long, including their sword nose. We're dealing with 3 inches here. I'll go with 9 feet.
9 feet.
No, I'm going with 40 sailfin dragon lizard sails go into a sailfish, the entire length of a sailfish.
40 sailfin sails.
Yes.
The correct answer is 49 sailfin sails.
Oh, it was close.
The largest sailfish ever caught was 11.2 feet and 340 centimeters.
I wonder if you could sell a sailfin
or-
sail for a sailfish. That was on sale.
Oh, I forgot to. The sailfishes are incredibly fast open ocean fish because of their elusive speed. They are a favored prize among sport fishermen.
A bit of a posthumous tip there.
Hint? Yeah. Well, do you have any fast facts before we get into the major fact?
I do have one. I just want to say what they eat. They eat fruit, leaves, flowers, insects, and smaller animals. They live only on certain islands in the Philippines. In fact, I think there's only one or two islands where they don't live. But they mostly like tropical areas with easy access to bodies of water like rivers and mangrove estuaries. For reasons we will discuss now. Go. Your turn.
Okay. All right. So, sailfin dragon lizards are semi-aquatic, which means they enjoy the land and the water, like a homesick pirate. They tend to live around rivers and streams. Like other large semi-aquatic reptiles, they're herbivores, although they're probably actually omnivores.
They definitely eat insects and smaller animals.
Yeah. But they do spend a lot of their days eating vegetation and basking in the sun. Iguanas are almost complete, like your traditional iguana, are almost always vegetarians. But I can't imagine that you would want to pass up a nice little crab or something.
Or a bug.
So their primary defense is to take to the water when predators approach, and their bodies are specifically adapted to life in the water. They're able to remain underwater for long periods of time to escape predators. They can jump in the water, sink to the bottom, and stay there for up to an hour before needing to come back up.
Wow.
It's quite the aquatic boy.
I don't even think that hippos can stay under there for that long.
Yeah.
I don't think crocodiles can either.
That seems like a long time, but, I don't know. I will say that a lot of this information came from pet sites, because since this is an animal you can keep as a pet and it's otherwise obscure, the internet is just polluted with pet information.
Those darn pet owners. How dare they put things on the internet?
How dare they be the only one? Really, it's not the pet owner's fault. It's the
researchers' fault. They need to to publish more legitimate research of this animal in the wild.
There was a documentary, but it was in Spanish on YouTube. So I could not understand it. And there was no captioning. I got to learn Spanish.
You got to get Guillermo del Toro to translate.
Males also have a large sail fin, like we talked about, that starts at the base of their tail and then arches to the center of their tail, thereabouts. The sail could be used for several purposes. They may help with swimming, obviously, and they can also help cool them and warm them quickly as blood flows close to the surface of the skin through the sail, kind of like an elephant ear, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But female sails are much smaller. So the primary purpose of the big-sailed males might be for something else. Males use large, impressive sails as territory displays. Incidentally, intimidating tail sails is what the AWOL Nation song is actually about.
The more you were saying it, the more the song was creeping into my head. I was like, we got to find a way to include that into the show somewhere in very small doses so we don't get a copyright slap. But sail.
Every time I say the word sail, it's just that clip from the song.
Go watch the YouTube video that's based on that, but it's called Snail.
Despite these dinosaur-esque tail ornaments, the sailfin dragon's most impressive aquatic anatomy adaptation, I guess that would be aquatic anatomical adaptation.
What did you say before?
Impressive aquatic anatomy adaptation? I guess either one works.
Anatomy adaptation?
Yeah, maybe that would be hyphenated. Anatomy adaptation.
Anatomical.
Anyway, their most impressive aquatic anatomical adaptation is their feet. Their toes are flat like they're a cartoon carpenter with bad aim.
A cartoon carpenter with bad aim definitely has one of those giant red throbbing thumbs.
That's true. But if a cartoon is run over by a truck, they're completely flat.
That's true.
Their aim is so bad, instead of hammering in a nail, they find themselves on a train track. Adults use this flat-footedness to swim more efficiently in the water. Their feet act like flippers with a wider surface area, allowing them to push off the water. But adolescents have a different way of doing things, as kids are wont to do. Younger, smaller sailfins actually use these flat feet to run on water. Ooh. Their flat toes slap against the surface tension of the water to push off to the next step.
That's why I called it the Holy Hydrosaur.
Kind of like snowshoes. Yeah. I was wondering how that was going to play in. This allows more vulnerable juveniles to escape predators quickly across the surfaces of rivers and ponds before diving below or reaching the other side.
It is pretty crazy to watch a lizard run across the water. Their legs do this
they're not
windmill thing, and it's pretty funny.
They're not the only ones the only reptiles to be able to do this, but if you look at their feet, they're like literally, they look like palm leaves. It's very, very flat. They're definitely adapted for the aquatic lifestyle.
Unlike me.
Anyway, that's all I got.
Nice. I would encourage anyone who is not currently driving to take a moment and look up a picture of the Sailfin dragon lizard, because there are some cool pictures of this guy. It is a pretty crazy looking sail. And the colors are good too. What if we had done the whole show and every time we said sail we had to yell it like AWOL Nation? It'd be so obnoxious. All right, so that was the Sailfin dragon lizard. For you out there in Podcastia, bask in the sun, show off your colors, and don't be afraid to get in the water unless you live in Western Australia, like the Sailfin dragon lizard, here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, thanks for listening to the episode. Just a few quick things. As always, reviews and social media engagement are greatly appreciated, but recommending the podcast to friends is the best way to help us grow. If you'd like some LDT flavored merch, check out teespring.com/stores/taxonomy-tees. That's it. Thanks for listening all the way to the end.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Theodore Geisel did create post World War II propaganda videos on how we should deal with Germans and Japanese. Anyway.
All of this is stuff I'm going to have to cut out.